everybody. Welcome to this NYSI chat. Today with me is Michelle Tan. Michelle is a midstream student athlete at the Singapore Sports School. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi, thanks for having me here.
You're most welcome. I'm glad to be able to have this chat with you. Michelle, maybe you could just tell everyone your sport, how old you are, and what course of study you are involved in right now.
I'm 17-year-old this year, and I play water polo for the Singapore Women's Water Polo team. I'm currently studying IB at Singapore Sports School.
So how old were you when you got involved with water polo? How did you get started?
I started playing water polo when I was about 8, when I was primary 2. Then back then I was training with my club and playing with the guys because there's not much um female water polo players at my age back then. So in my club it was just me and the guys. Then subsequently I moved on to train with the national team. So I was just training with them when I was 12 after my primary school leaving exam.
How did you get
Then
involved with the national team? Tell us.
um actually like it was quite a funny story, I would say. Like I was after my PSLE I was very bored. So I called my coach. I was like, Coach, I'm very bored. What should I do? Like it was just like that, no. Then he was like, I was so bored that I actually go and call him. Then he was like, oh, go national training. Go national training with Gina, who was my um previous captain. Then I was like, huh? Like, go national training? He's like, yeah, go national training. I was so shocked, like, oh, just like that, like national training. Then I trained with them for like 2 years. I was the youngest in the team back then, and when I was sec three, I finally got senior carded, and was training for SEA Games, and I competed in the SEA Games last year, and won a silver medal with my team.
It must have been very intimidating going to national team training as a 12-year-old.
It was quite intimidating. Like the rest of my seniors um were like in their 20s, 30s, and I
But
was just there as a 12-year-old. I was quite lost.
you
And
must have been one of the youngest for a very long time, right?
I was the youngest until last year when we had more girls coming in, and like we have a youth team now. So um I'm glad that our sport is growing at a really fast rate, I would say. Like within these 5 years, we have a youth team, with more girls playing the sport, and even starting the sport at a younger age. I think that's a really good step forward.
So in 2019, you were doing your O levels and you were also training for SEA Games. Tell us what it was like juggling sports and studies before joining SSP in 2019.
When I was in secondary school, I was from a really like a mainstream secondary school. So I wasn't from a special school like sports school. So then I still had to take up a CCA in my secondary school. So I start off the day by like going to school. Then afterwards I would um go for CCA. Then afterwards I'll go for training. Then after training I'll go home and do my work before sleeping. So like every single day my schedule is like packed. Yeah. So um, and on top of that, I was also an exco in my CCA. So I was like busy with my school anniversary and like an art exhibition and things like that. So I would say the experience really taught me to manage my time better. I wouldn't really complain about like having to go through such a rigorous schedule. But I would say it really taught me to be more disciplined and be responsible for my own learning and training.
So now that you have been in sports school for about a year, what's the biggest difference you find between studying in sports school and the mainstream school?
I think the biggest difference would be the structure. Um, I would say sports school allows for more flexibility. Like I could go for overseas training trips for extended period of time, and which is something that I wouldn't be able to get if I was from a mainstream school, because um, I would say a mainstream school wouldn't really be, it doesn't really give that much support for student athletes from like myself.
So can you give an example of the flexibility that you can get at Singapore Sports School?
Um, I was supposed to go for a 2 month training trip in Greece, like in April this year, till May, and because of COVID-19, I was not able to do so. So like the school actually did approve my training trip, and I would say that would be an example for like the flexibility of the school. Yeah, and
What about the environment, the teachers that you have?
I would say the teachers in sports school are more understanding, because they have more experience with like student athletes like myself, and also some of the teachers are also student athletes themselves, so they were more understanding towards my schedule, my training and stuff, and they will often check in with like students to like ensure that um ensure their well-being.
So you're doing the IB, and not only that, you are doing the extended IB. Can
Yeah.
you share with us how you came to that decision to do an extended IB? And what were some of the concerns you faced?
um I actually wanted to go sports school because um I was looking to pursue junior college education after my O level, and initially I was looking at the more common A level route. Like um, I wanted to go to junior college just like the rest of my classmates, but because of my training schedule and that I didn't want to sacrifice my sports or studies. I felt that the 2 year A level route would be too rigorous. I also didn't really want to repeat what I did studying for O levels and training for SEA Games at the same time. So sports school was a more feasible option for myself. And coming to sports school allowed me to have more time to train, to rest, to compete, to study, and most importantly, have sufficient rest. So it gives me a more balance to my sports and studies. Yeah.
How did you come to the decision to do an extended IB? Because that is not a common route to take.
Looking at the time, my schedule, and factoring in the the time it takes to travel to pool and stuff, I realized that no, I don't really have um much time. I would say I still have time, but not as much time to focus on my studies, and I definitely do not want to neglect my studies. So 4 year IB was a more feasible option for me. And when I first came to sports school, I was actually on a 3 year IB program. And after like few weeks of experiencing IB, I realized that no, like 3 year is may not be the best option for me. So I decided to take the 4 year program.
It must have been quite difficult to come to that decision, right? To do a 4 year IB because most people do it in two. What were some of the concerns about doing an extended IB?
Mm, I would say um for myself, I would think that it's fine, like it's okay, because I wanted to be able to do well for both aspects. So to me, this is quite quite okay. But I think my parents were initially they initially objected to the idea of going to sports school, because I think there's a common misconception about sports school is that they think a lot of people think that sports school is just about sports, and that um, a lot of people um, don't realize that actually in sports school we need to do both sports and studies as well, and we actually focus a lot on studies also. So I needed to convince my parents to let me to go sports school, and they were also concerned with the fact that I'll be behind the rest of my peers. Like the girls in my class would be in their third year in university while I'm just in my first year, and they would typically be ahead of me in terms of my career and studies. So that was actually their main concern.
Well, there certainly will be different kinds of rewards for taking a different route, a less common route.
Yeah,
Um,
like
you will find the benefits later on in life with a different perspective.
yeah.
So, what is a daily and weekly schedule like that you have at sports school? Can you just describe a usual week?
Mm, right now, because of COVID, I would say our schedule is more chill. Like it's not as strong like as the start of the year. Before circuit breaker, when I could still train as per usual, I will start off the day by waking up at about 6 a.m. before going for morning training at 6:30. Then I'll train till about 8 a.m. and I'll go for class at around 8:40 until um about 3 plus, nearly 4. And I'll leave school, I'll head to the aquatic center, which takes me about an hour and a half. So um, sometimes I would sleep on the train, or that I'll study on a train as well. That I could take out my laptop and do my work. And I would attend national training from 7 p.m. till 10 p.m. before heading back to boarding to sleep. Mm,
What time would you get back into boarding at Singapore Sports School?
if I couldn't get right, then I'll reach school at around 12 midnight, which is quite late.
Yes.
And like sometimes I'll try to get a ride from like um some of the parents, like um that there's like fetching their kids back to school. So but even if so, I'll reach school around like 11 p.m. already.
Okay, so you have to do this on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But because you're doing the extended IB, that means you're taking fewer subjects. So how many hours fewer are you taking than someone who's doing a regular IB?
As an extended IB student, I'm able to spread out my course of study into 4 years. So like instead of going for like every class, like I will only attend classes that for the subjects that I'm taking in that current year. So um so for classes that I don't take, I don't need to attend. So I have more time in between classes as compared to my classmates. So I could make use of this time to um go back to boarding to rest, study, or like even gym in school. So I would say like it gives me more. I think the key idea of extended IB is that it gives me more time to balance both my sports and studies as well as my social life.
Okay, Michelle, thank you very much for taking the time to share with us your experience as a student at Singapore Sports School and telling us your daily and weekly schedule as a extended IB student. That was insightful. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, thanks for tuning in today, and I hope you found this chat with Michelle useful, and we'll see you next time.